Welcome back. Thanks for joining me again. In this lesson, we're going to take a look at testing Lambda. We're going to talk about how to create and test a Lambda function. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we need to do is open up Lambda in our AWS Services console. If you want to locate Lambda in the console, if you go under Compute, Lambda is in that list, or feel free to search for Lambda in the search box. Now, the first thing you're going to see is the splash screen if you've never run a Lambda function before. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and click Create a Function. So you have the option to, when you go to create a function, you have the option to use the serverless repository, use the blueprints, or author from scratch. Blueprints are just pre-configured templates that you can use that are starting points for configuring a Lambda function. We're going to go ahead and use author from scratch. So the first thing we need to do is name our function. So we're going to name it Essentials function. And for the runtime, I'm going to select Python 3.6. I'm going to leave this at create a new role from template. And I'm going to go ahead and call this Essentials role. So in order for Lambda to take actions with other AWS services, you have to have a role configured. Here is where we would be able to create that role. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Create Function button. We didn't need anything specific for the role for this particular function because we're just doing a very basic hello world function. So if we were going to use triggers, we could specify those here. So as a trigger, I could set something like a CloudWatch event to trigger my Lambda function. So as an example, let's say that we created a CloudWatch alarm to monitor an EC2 instance for shutdown. And if that EC2 instance shut down, CloudWatch could trigger a Lambda function to restart that EC2 instance. That's what we're referring to when we talk about triggers. CloudWatch or other AWS services are able to kick off or trigger a Lambda function. We're not going to do that here. I'm going to scroll down and show you. This is where your code for Lambda goes. Now, doing the scripting for this and building the function is outside of the scope of this course because this is a beginner's course and Lambda is a much more advanced topic. But at a minimum, I wanted to at least show you Lambda so you could be aware of it and how it works. So we're just going to execute a very simple hello from Lambda script. So we're going to leave this function code in here exactly as already written. If I were to scroll down, you can see there are some more advanced options here that you can configure. So our function is fine the way that it is. So we don't even have to click save because we haven't changed anything. I'm going to click test and we need to create a new test event. So I'm going to name this Essentials test. We don't need to change anything at this point because again, all we want is for the code to execute and show us hello world from Lambda. So I'm going to click create. Now that that's been saved, I'm going to click the test button and notice that it tells me here that my results have succeeded. So I'm going to expand this out and status code 200 means success. And here's our text, hello from Lambda. So this did exactly what the code was supposed to do. Not really very interesting, I know, but again, because we're just taking a look at this from a beginner perspective, we're not really going to be able to execute anything more complicated at this point. But we can take a look at what happened when the code was executed. So the duration for how long it took the code to run was 17.65 milliseconds, and the build duration is 100 milliseconds. You can see that Lambda builds in 100 millisecond increments. You can also see the maximum amount of memory used to run that particular function. So you can essentially get statistics related to how your Lambda function works. I'm going to go back to the main Lambda screen and notice here you can actually see some of the metrics. These are account level metrics, but you can see the duration for how long it took for that Lambda function to run. So you can look at CloudWatch metrics related to Lambda and get an idea of what type of resources your Lambda functions are utilizing. Let's go ahead and take a look at our Project Omega requirements. So our final requirement for Project Omega was to test the possibility of using serverless technology for Project Omega. And our goal was to create and run a Lambda function. So we have successfully done that. So that means that we have concluded all of our requirements for Project Omega. So join me in the next video so we can wrap up Lambda.